see you both get to drop in the rankings. Any
Yes.
explanation on that?
Yes.
That's the beauty of our sport.
It just doesn't make any sense at all. So, and again, the ratings are primarily based on power as far as depth goes and so on. There's a separate scale as far as what could happen at the national meet itself, and FlowTrack tries to research that out and do their prognostications to keep it going. And Track and Field News does the same. So those are different scales, so to speak, as far as how good you are. And obviously now it's the national meet. So probably lean towards Track and Field News and FlowTrack's research.
You guys, like who all might be doubling for even tripling maybe on some relays? Kind of who's going to have the heavy workloads for you guys?
Well, for us, it'll be Cameron Griffith. Cameron and our kids on our relays. So we've got both relays qualified. I think we're one of only 2 schools that have both in. And, we're going with our best athletes in both those relays. So, for example, Jalen Brown will run he'll run the 4x4 and the 400 leg of the DMR. Cameron will run the mile anchor on Friday night in that DMR, and then come back on Saturday and run the 3K. I think it's who's the other one?
Jeremy.
And Jeremy.
Because he's an individual.
What's that?
He's an individual.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, Jeremy. Yeah, right. Jeremy Farr in the 400 will also come back and run the 4x4. So we have we have a few people that'll. And Hunter Woodall will run the 800 leg on Friday night in the DMR, and then come back and run on the 4x4 on Saturday. So we got maybe 4 athletes, maybe doubling up.
You have anybody doubling in the 3 and 5 or
No.
mile and 3?
No.
Or how are you dividing your distance guys in there?
Well, we've basically I'm not sure I understand the question.
Okay. Is Boyd, did he not?
Boyd did not make it in.
Okay.
He was the 18th. Trebosen didn't make it in. He was 17th. Jalen Brown didn't make it in. He was 17th.
Okay.
And then and Tyler Brendel in the heptathlon, he was 17th. And they take the top 16.
Okay.
So we have 8 total entries into the meet. And we just missed out on those guys. Just missed out.
Sorry, just scratch that question then. Sorry about that. And then Lance, I guess who's going to be your?
Katie Izzo will double. She'll run the 5 and the 3. And then basically the DMR, the quarter miler will run DMR leg and come back in the mile relay. But Izzo is the main. She's got a big weekend to work.
She obviously did really well at the SECs. How do you feel about her going into this meet?
She's in great spirits. She's healthy, and she's just been on such a great roll all through cross country that's carried into indoor. It's been nothing but positive. Karina Villon will run the mile, and she'll come back in the 3K as well. So, which is a pretty tough double at the national meet, but we just want to make sure that if something happens in the mile where she gets pushed off the track or something gets tangled up, she has an event on Saturday to take care of a final.
Who's on your DMR then?
So we're going to run basically a group of young people that have never been to the national meet before. And we're going to lead off Kennedy Thompson in the 1200. One of our quarter milers will fill that spot. And then Shafiqua Maloney will run the 800 and will anchor Maddie Reed.
Lance, you guys, you won the Triple Crown last year. What do you think the odds are of keeping that streak going?
0.
Really?
That'd be a long
that's
shot.
your pregame speech.
Reality does come along sooner or later, and I think we're capable of doing some good scoring, but considering who we redshirted and who we are prepping for next year, that would be a long shot. I think we'd be really happy if we're a top 10 team, and if everything lines up perfectly, potentially be on the podium for one of the trophies.
For both of you guys, I mean, who do you see as the top teams, for the team title?
I think on the men's side, LSU looks to be outstanding. They have some great individuals, and they look tough. And also, you could put in there Oregon as well. So I kind of lean towards those schools.
In our situation, LSU women are very competitive this year. Again, when you get to the national meet, you can possibly win the meet with just 2 individuals if they double correctly and so on. And then University of Southern California also has a very formidable crew that could challenge for the win.
Chris, is both the DMR and Cameron, what kind of shot do you feel either one would have to win it all?
Say that again.
For Cameron in the 3K and
Yep.
and the DMR, I assume those are kind of your 2 best
Yep.
national threats, aren't they?
Well, I mean, we'll see. I mean, anything can happen once you get it. If you're in the top 16, anything can happen. In Cameron in particular, it's all about getting him in the right position for the ankle leg of that mile. He's was 3rd at the NCAA Outdoor Championship in the 1500. We've seen what kind of kick he has. And so it'll be about positioning in that DMR, Kieran Taylor will lead it off, and so he's going to have to. He's got to, that's a big leg for us. And there's only 12 teams in the race, but it's crowded, and 12 teams running 1,200, and then you make a 400-meter exchange to the 400-meter runner. So it's anything can happen in that position, but we got to get Cameron in the anchor position. We have to get him with the leaders. If he's with the leaders, then he's as good as anybody in the country. And when you look at the 3K on Saturday, he's a great doubler. He's always done well for us. Running both races, running on both days. There'll be quite a bit of that going on in that 3K on Saturday, and he's dangerous. If he can get in the right position, he's got a great kick. So it's all about being at the right place at the right time with a couple laps to go.
What Laquan's done so far, do you feel he could score in both jumps?
Absolutely. He was 9th last year, was just out of the scoring for us, and to me, I don't think he's had his best long jump or triple jump. I think that there's more in the tank there for him, and if he hits it right, he could jump a lot further. So we're excited about that. And then you look at Jeremy Farr in the 400. I think at the Razorback meet, he beat the #1 guy in the country in a head-to-head. And this is all about head-to-head running. And so the rankings and the times are basically thrown out. And so Jeremy is dangerous. I think he was disappointed in the 400 at the conference meet. He won his heat, but didn't make the final. And so here's one of our top. That just shows you how tough that SEC championship is. If you're not on, you're not going to score. And same with Chris Harry. Chris Harry, one of our top qualifiers in the SEC, a week or so ago, and fall started. And all those guys, they all have more in the tank, I think, and we'll see what happens. But excited about it.
Who do you feel is a threat to, win it all?
Win it all?
Or
yeah, I think one of the things that with the distances that's a wild card is going to altitude. It's been good to us in the past. We've prepped for it very well, but you never know how an individual will handle the altitude, especially for the distances. Sprints and jumps usually are, that's kind of seventh heaven for them. We've even sent our vaulters out there to get used to their runway and their conditions that they have for the vault. So we've rehearsed everything as well as we possibly can. It's now just a situation of, Katie Izzo goes in with the fastest time in the nation in the 5,000. But like Chris was saying, there's 16 people all within a relatively dense period of time that all could challenge. And there are some people that probably have great marks, but will have issues with facing altitude because it can change everything.
You said you work on altitude. Is that something you do like in the gym where you're wearing oxygen masks or just run on big hills?
Yeah, we haven't done that. It's just basically getting used to being hypoxic in workouts and trying to, stress that anaerobic system as much as possible so that they can, at sea level, so that they can get that feeling and buffer it as best they possibly can.
Chris, just how much momentum, winning that SEC meet carries over to this, and also just do you have any kind of team goals in mind of where you feel you could finish?
Well, certainly winning an SEC championship, I've said it before, if you win an SEC championship in any sport, you're elite. You're elite in the country. We feel we're an elite team this year. Gives us a lot of confidence. It's basically just about, the vibe of your team and how they're feeling about things, and the vibe's good for us. So we also know that anything can happen in this meet, and we've had a history of overachieving, and so we hope that we can continue to do that again. Now, as far as a specific place, I don't know. I mean, we could score a lot of points, or we could come away empty-handed, and we just hope that our guys are on and we feel good and all that. I mean, a top 10 finish would be. I mean, last year we were in the top 15 twice. It felt like we got 100th place, but those guys worked awful hard for it to get. Those finishes last year, and we want to improve. We think we're a better team this year, and so we're hoping, kind of like Lance said, I mean, top 10 finish obviously is a possibility, and, if we have a great 2 days, we can finish significantly higher. So hard to predict. I mean, it's, as you know, you've been to 100 of these things, they're hard to predict. But that's the fun of it. Well, fun for some people. And it's at altitude, Lance? I didn't know that. Okay.
What is it up there, like 7,000 feet?
Five.
Five.
Yeah, mile high, a little less than mile high, whereas we're here right around
Is
2,000.
that a pretty nice facility they have there?
I'll let you answer that, Lance.
It's different than a typical collegiate setup. It's in a convention center, and the last time we were there, you warmed up in one building, crossed the street, and then went into the competition venue. It's a portable track that's set up, and then stands are put on either side of it. It's banked, but not banked as steep as ours, so it's a little more of a typical facility that you would see at New York or some of the other collegiate systems that are set up around the country. Anything in the back?
It sounded very diplomatic, Those are very diplomatic answer. Like, the Albuquerque Chamber of Commerce can't be mad about that.
No, they were disappointed in the number of pre-sales so far, from what I've heard. So, and I think that's something that they're hoping there's going to be a good crowd.
Is New Mexico much of a track school? It really isn't, is it?
It's more of
I guess
a,
they've had good cross-country.
yeah, they're more
Yeah.
cross-country emphasis, and then those people carry over to indoor and outdoor track. I mean, they've got some great individuals, more on the women's side than probably the men.